With COVID, cases are, of course, coming up around the state. The numbers are not that great, but the Capitol is staying open for the public. But there's some new procedures. Could you brush us up on what those are?
Certainly, yes. And as you said, Gene, COVID is still very much with us. So the goal for this session is to get the work done, but to do it in a way that keeps the public, members, and staff at the Roundhouse safe. So the Legislative Council Service just recently announced that in order for the public to attend in person at the Roundhouse, proof of vaccination will have to be shown upon entry. And I can go through the details of how that's going to work. But if the public wants to come into the building, they have to show proof of full vaccination.
Let me ask you a question. When you say full vaccination, does that include a booster?
I believe as long as they're saying for the Pfizer and the Moderna vaccine, 6 months really is the time for efficacy, and then beyond that 6 months is when the booster is recommended. So I believe as long as it's been within the previous 6 months, I'll have to verify that, but that would be considered full vaccination. But they will look to see if people have boosters if they're needed by then.
Lawmakers, are they required to be vaccinated as well?
They actually can't, and that's actually a constitutional issue. Legislative Council Service cannot mandate that legislators get the vaccine. They're considered constitutional law officers, and they're outside of the purview. But obviously, it is highly encouraged that legislators too are vaccinated and boosted when they can be.
Last time around, there was a pretty good round of social distancing and masking in the legislature. Are we to expect that again as well for lawmakers?
Masking, definitely. Masking will still be required throughout the building. And as far as social distancing, I think the barricades in the chambers are still up. The plexiglass. Fortunately, the Roundhouse is a pretty good sized building, and so I don't necessarily think that it's going to be really crowded, but we'll be keeping an eye on the size and ask that people do continue to adhere to some social distancing.
We're talking to Chris Nordstrom. He's the communications director for the Mexico Senate Democrats in the Roundhouse. And Chris, I do have a question. Any difference between procedures between the Senate and the House that you're aware of?
Not really. As I said, the Roundhouse is open, but one important thing to note is in some sense, this session will be the most open of any session, because not only is the Roundhouse open for people to come in, assuming they're vaccinated, but the last session, the building was closed, but the session was open via technology, and that will continue. So if someone can't or chooses not to come into the Roundhouse, they'll still be able to participate via Zoom, go to attend committee meetings, have their voices be heard. The details of how that works in each chamber might differ slightly, but for the most part, the procedures are pretty much the same, and both sides will be operating the same. Legislators will be attending in person, unless there's extenuating circumstances for health reasons. I believe all the legislators will be in person in both chambers.
Interesting points there. This is the first session we've had since the Legislative Council voted to ban firearms from the Roundhouse. Not without controversy. We covered it a lot on New Mexico in Focus, certainly. How will that change how people enter the Capitol building? Is there anything, a protocol set up for that now?
Yes, there is. So that, coupled with the vaccine check, will definitely change the way people come into the building. I believe some of these details are still being worked out, but I think the plan is that there will be 4 entrances to the Capitol. So 4 different ways people can come in, and when you enter, there will actually be 2 separate checkpoints. One will be the vaccine check, and then the second will be the security check. So there will be metal detectors and potential bag bag searches before you can actually come all the way into the building.
Mhm. Any backlash on this new protocol that you've been dealing with in the Senate side? What's been the reaction so far?
On both issues, I think for the most part, people are extremely supportive of it. I mean, we know that, COVID is still very much in control, sadly. I think yesterday it was reported there were 633 people hospitalized right now in New Mexico.
Mhm.
And while we have a good vaccination rate, I think we're just shy of 75% full vaccination in the state. That's 25% unvaccinated is still a lot of folks. So I think in terms of safety for everyone involved, the rule is very much appreciated and I think well accepted. Same for the weapons ban. I think
Mhm.
it is the world we're living in today, and I think for the safety and security of everybody in the Roundhouse, it's important that we have this in place.
Mhm. Republican Chairman Stephen Pierce had a quote that Santa Fe New Mexican columnist Milan Simonich quoted just a couple of days ago that basically said the progressive Democrats are once again trying to hide behind these protocols to keep the public's need to know at bay. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely not. As I mentioned before, I think in many ways, this upcoming session is more open than previous sessions in terms of access to the building, both physically and virtually. So, it's open, transparent. The public is invited to attend in whatever way they're able to, and I think it's going to make for a very transparent and open session.
Mhm. It's going to take, in my mind's eye, as someone who, like a lot of us, try to get in the Roundhouse during the session to do our work and stuff, I can imagine some pretty serious lines or some pretty serious delays, possibly at the start of committee hearing times. I mean, there's a lot of things that could be compromised here. How prepared is the Senate side for that eventuality that it might be impactful on the clock, literally, of the day-to-day clock?
That's a very good question. And I think in some ways, the special will actually give us a little bit of a practice ground for the regular session come January, because the special really is focused on redistricting. There's not a whole lot of issues. That doesn't mean to say that there won't be people interested in coming into the building. We certainly expect that. But I think for the special session, there probably won't be large crowds, I would just imagine. And so I think this will give us a good opportunity and chance to see, okay, how's the flow looking? Are there the right number of people in place to take care of the lines, et cetera? And then when January rolls around and more people are presumably coming in, I think those are considerations that'll just have to be made in terms of start times and meeting times.